this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government.
The golden age of America begins now, said Donald Trump as he took the oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the U.S. Constitution. Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States and immediately hit the ground, pledging to issue close to 100 executive orders on his first day of office. And true to his word, he signed a slew of executive orders on day one itself. These orders aim to reverse several Biden-era policies, particularly in energy, immigration, and environmental regulations. Trump intends to increase fossil fuel drilling, halt federal hiring, and end gender transition services funding. In his inaugural address, Donald Trump announced a policy that recognizes only two genders, erasing the recognition of transgender and non-binary identities. Trump also reinstated a policy requiring asylum seekers to remain in Mexico. But first, let's just go through some of the big executive orders signed so far.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages, approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
First, pardons. Trump pardoned about 1,500 people who stormed the U.S. Capitol on Jan 6, 2021, in a sweeping gesture of support to the people who assaulted the police. He said, and I quote, that we hope they come out tonight. Frankly, we're expecting it. The far-reaching action also cut short the sentences of 14 members of the far-right Proud Boys and Oath Keepers organizations, including some who were convicted of seditious conspiracy. Second, on immigration, Trump signed orders declaring illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border a national emergency, designating criminal cartels as terrorist organizations. He issued an executive order cracking down on birthright citizenships in the United States, which also stands contrary to the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Donald Trump has also mandated segregation in federal prisons, migrant shelters, and rape victim facilities based on biological sex as defined in that order. On climate, Trump also signed a withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty, including a letter to the United Nations explaining the decision. The announcement, which has been widely expected ever since Trump won the November 5th presidential election, further threatens the central goal of the agreement to avoid a rise in global temperatures of 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's a target that appears even more tenuous, as last year was the planet's hottest on record. Donald Trump also repealed a 2023 memo from Biden that barred oil drilling in some 16 million acres in the Arctic, saying that government should encourage energy exploration and production on federal lands and waters and eliminated an electric vehicle mandate. He empowered the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk, to recommend cuts to government programs and spending. Donald Trump has also exited from the World Health Organization, saying that the Global Health Agency mishandled the COVID-19 pandemic and other international health crises. Donald Trump has nominated several critics of the organization to top the public health positions, including a Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic who is up for the post of Secretary of Health and Human Services, which oversees all major U.S. health agencies, including the CDC and the FDA. Donald Trump also signed an executive order delaying the ban on short video application of TikTok by 75 days. On free speech, Donald Trump signed an executive order that he said was aimed at quote-unquote restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. The White House added that under the guise of combating misinformation and disinformation, the federal government infringed on the constitutionally protected speech rights of American citizens. Trump and his Republican allies had accused the administration of Democratic former President Biden of encouraging suppression of free speech on online platforms. The two-gender policy. Donald Trump announced a policy that recognizes only two genders, and this move now threatens transgender students by invalidating their identities on school records. And with this, the future of protections for transgender students also remains uncertain. The policy marks the loss of more than just symbolic recognition, making young children more vulnerable to bullying, and invalidates their identity, making them subject to stigma, scrutiny, and discrimination. The U.S. president also warned BRIC nations that they will face 100% tariffs on trade with the U.S. if they continue de-dollarization efforts. The US president referenced to former US President Joe Biden, suggesting that Biden had indicated that the US was in a vulnerable position on this matter, to which Trump disagreed, asserting that the United States has the leverage over the BRICS nations and that they would not be able to proceed with their plans. Well, Donald Trump's executive orders could be challenged by advocacy groups, educators, and students themselves. There could be several legal challenges to the execution of these very orders, citing violations of constitutional rights and federal anti-discrimination laws. Yet, the road ahead is fraught with uncertainty, with court battles taking several years, leaving many in limbo.